What's up, guys? Good morning. It is your girl Tree with another tip from Tree Tips Media. Okay, I got the Combs family in the background. Yesterday, Diddy was in court for a hearing, and he's going to be back this Friday because the judge gave the district attorney some work to do. Now, I reported on this before. I think I don't know if it was the last video, but Diddy's attorneys cited another case that's going on in New York, where the defendant was let out on a $10 million bail, and he has the same charges as Diddy. And the judge is taking note of that. So let's go into it. Shout out to Inner City Press on Twitter. If you're not on Twitter, then this wouldn't. But if you are, follow my guy, Inner City Press. He's been sitting in the court with Diddy, and he's been going word for word for whatever they said. So I'm gonna just read what he said happened yesterday, and we can talk about it at the end. Okay, now, U.S. versus Sean Combs, hearing in MDC jail raid. Inner City Press is covering the case. Got it. Sean Combs He comes in from the holding cell in MDC jail 10, walking fine, hugs his lawyers, and sits down. Now they're just waiting for Judge Subramanian. Y'all know I will butcher a name, so I'm going to just call him Judge Sub. Let's go with that, right? Okay. Still waiting for the judge. Combs is chatting with his attorney, Anthony Rico, who is seated to his left with the bow tie on. Okay, let's go. Sean Combs' lawyer, Agnafilo, lawyer A. We expect Alexander Shapiro to arrive at any minute now. Alexander Shapiro, that's the hotshot appellate attorney, y'all. They expected her any minute from the Second Circuit. I have Sean Love Combs to my left. Judge says, fine. What are you seeking? Attorney A, which is Puffy, keep up. That's Diddy's attorney, Attorney A. We want to know how his notes with lawyer came into their possession. So, remember I told y'all Diddy's cell got raided. And in that raid, they took some papers, they took some notes. Allegedly, it was saying, well, that what they were trying to say was, it was saying that had a young lady name on there who was a witness, who Diddy basically, they saying, paid her off. But we're going to get into that to see if that was really the case. His attorney said, we want to know how they came into their possession, because his attorneys is saying that was attorney-client privilege information that they took. So Combs' lawyer A, says he has an expectation of privacy in his legal notes. The judge says, this occurred during a BOP, Bureau of Prisons, sweep of the jail, but you're saying it was a pretext? Attorney A, yes, 19 pages of the notes were given from the tank team to them. Only one page. It was 19 pages they took. Combs' lawyer A, we know enough to make out a constitutional violation, but we need to know more detail about the failures. We haven't been able to test their explanation. We need the surveillance video of the search. Combs' attorney says, we need the communications of Investigator 1. We need to know the role of the United States Attorney's Office on what should be photographs. The search was for drugs and guns and cell phones, but these are Combs' legal files. So they're saying they searched the cells for drugs, phones, and guns. I don't know how he would get a gun in his cell, but they actually took his legal work, his attorneys are saying. The judge says, keep it on the logistics. Attorney A, we're not sure it was Investigator 1 was the one doing the search. Who interviewed Mr. Combs? Who went to the area where his legal papers were? Once we know that, we could have a Fifth Amendment transgression. Diddy's attorney. We may ask for dismissal of the indictment or for the recusal of the prosecution team. It's getting juicy, y'all. Judge Sub says they used two portions in responding on bail. And you want me not to consider those? Attorney A says they need to hand over the notes. So the judge is going back to what the district attorney submitted in response to Diddy getting out on bail. So he's asking the attorney, you don't want me to consider what their response was? You just want to talk about this? His attorney is like, damn their response. We want those notes back. So Combs' attorney said, we don't know what the tank team has. We want to know, and we want the material back while this is pending. We cannot waive his attorney-client privilege. We have to be direct or aggressive. Not sure that's the right word. Not aggressive, huh? Judge Sub says, government, what happened here? Why were they taking photos of Mr. Combs' notebook? So not only did they take the paperwork, they took photos. The police took photos of his notebook. The district attorney says, the district attorney says none of the prosecutors had contact with them. The judge says, but investigator one was monitoring Mr. Combs' communication ins and out. The judge also said, is this a Fourth Amendment violation? The DA says the BOP investigator works for the BOP. He is focused on safety, and if the defendant is in compliance with BOP rules, he was not. It is true that BOP gave us the information. None of the prosecution team were aware that investigator one was going to be part of the sweep. So I guess one of the district attorney's investigators was actually a part of the jail raid with Diddy. That's kind of weird. The judge says, when did you become aware that photos have been taken of Mr. Combs' notes? The DA said, after the sweep. The judge said, but before the grand jury subpoena? The judge also says, so there's nothing else? The DA said, Mr. A, which is attorney A, Diddy's attorney, says the defense team does not know what the tank team has. But we made a production to them last night of everything, not just the 19 pages that were passed to the case team. The attorney says these materials were obtained as part of the government's covert ongoing grand jury investigation. Judge Sub says, is it standard procedure to photograph notebooks rather than take them so it could be known they were taken? So the judge said, why are they photographing his notebooks? The DA says, I don't know. The DA says, we are not required to notify the defense of our ongoing investigation of criminal conduct. We receive these materials in the appropriate channel. Whenever we get new information, if there's reason to believe there's privilege, it goes to a filter team. Okay, so they are allowed to have this ongoing investigation. They are allowed to raid his cell for information, I guess. Yeah, so let's just pause right there. Be right back. So the DA is telling the judge anything that they find in his cell goes to a filter team. Judge Sub says if they were verbatim notes of his meetings with his attorneys, how would you know without asking the defense? The DA says our filter team does a serious job. This investigation was covert. We had a lot of information before charges were brought. I understand there is a dialogue between the defense and the filter team. I'm not a part of that. That's what the DA says. Judge, I don't understand that dividing line between the covert investigation and discovery in this case, given that the defendant has been charged. The DA says, our grand jury investigation is ongoing into conduct that has not currently been charged. We have multiple ways to get information that are not obvious to the defendant. We are not obliged to inform them. They have no authority for that. So the DA is basically saying this investigation is ongoing. While Combs is on the phone talking and doing weird stuff, we still watching him, and we can use whatever he do against him in this investigation. The judge says, I want to be cautious since some of this is sealed, but is any of this privileged information? Meaning, is any of this attorney-client privilege information? The DA says the notebook was labeled things to do, not attorney-client. They suggest they were meant to be in the folder marked legal, but self-labeling is not enough. So meaning when you got a folder or mail as an inmate, it should be marked legal, not things to do. So that's why they looked at it. The DA says, these include action items for non-lawyers. That's not privileged. Their information about family members' birthdays, also not privileged. We point to the Lemire decision of Judge Rakoff. We are happy to engage with the defense. Judge, how about agreeing that I should not consider these two excerpts in your opposition to the bail motion? So the judge is like, yeah, you saying all this, but what about if I don't agree to those two things you put in that bail motion? Because of this, the DA, I think that's right for the bail argument scheduled for Friday. So they have a bail argument scheduled for Friday. The judge says, what about putting them in a vault? There are inspirational messages. The DA said, these are related to our ongoing investigation. There is no reason to put the notes in a vault. As a matter of procedure, the defendant will have to make a motion. These notes are not attorney-client privilege. The DA says, then there's work product, which is broader. It's meant to protect the attorney's mental process, but these are not that. It's about an administrative question. Following up with a paralegal is not protected. Judge says, what if an individual had counsel paid by another? The DA, the payment? Not privileged. And if it's about paying off a witness, that is what we are investigating. These notes refer to individual two, a non-lawyer third party. It's on his to-do list. So the DA is basically saying these notes that we have is about him paying off an individual, and that's not an attorney. And it was on a to-do list. Judge, a defense lawyer can investigate potential witnesses. It would be malpractice not to do so. If these are about the defense team's preparation for witnesses, isn't it a closer call if it falls into work product? The DA, the person tasked is not a lawyer. The person he talking about paying is not a lawyer. The DA, on October 18th, the defendant told a family member to work with a non-lawyer to find everything about victim 2. And this non-lawyer individual 2 is not identified as part of the defense team. Judge, what about turning over the surveillance video? So the judge is really kind of sound like he on Diddy's side in this, on Diddy's side in this. The DA, we are opposed. There is no authority for that. Judge, I noticed that Mr. A which is lawyer A for the defense, they want to work with you to try to resolve this. Judge, see, the lawyer, Diddy lawyer laughs a little bit. Judge, you may not agree, but why not discuss? Attorney A, we don't want to give them insight, and the defense don't have to give them insight on their defense. But I want to go back because the DA did mention something about victim two, and Diddy told a family member to work with a non-lawyer to find everything out about victim two. So there might be a victim two in this. We know victim one is Cassie. So they talking about a victim two. All right, all right. So Diddy attorney said, we don't want to give them insight. We don't have to tell them about our defense. We don't have to tell them about our plans, is what he's saying. Diddy attorney A, all the legal pads say legal. What the government is saying was searched is just not accurate. Judge, wait. You are saying the photos taken were from pads marked legal? Can you show me? Attorney A walks up and hands Judge Sub a pad. Oh, this is getting juicy. Attorney A, when we visit him in jail, we have lists. Everything in these pads are things we discuss. Trial strategy, who we should speak to undermine a witness credibility. We discuss everything with Mr. Combs. This is a sweeping racketing case. Combs attorney, we are studying this man's life for our bail application, his charity work. This is not a single day, a single event case. We spend time on every nook and cranny of this man's life. I have a case, Bafano, very important case. So Combs attorney say, Mr. Combs comes out and read us his to-do list. That is privileged. The 19 pages include things we have said to him. The name of potential witnesses, a retired doctor. Now they have that. This is in the heartland of attorney-client. Mr. Combs comes out and read us his to-do list. That is privileged. Okay, so I just read that. Judge says, I'm looking at the case you cited, Mr. Slavic. Are you familiar with it? The DA. I'm not, Your Honor. Combs attorney. Miss Garagos has something to say. Miss Garagos, I thought it was Mr. Garagos who was Combs' defense attorney. Anyway, they said there's a covert grand jury investigation, but there's the current indictment. DA, we're talking here about 11 pages of note, not a stack. None of those notes are legal. Judge, the notes themselves are not legal, but the page was in a legal pad that was marked legal. DA, it's not clear when defendant wrote that on there. Judge, we have a bail hearing on Friday, at which I will not consider this material. In terms of running down the privilege issues, we can take 2 weeks. Any issue with that time frame? Combs attorney, no. Judge, I'll issue a schedule. Combs attorney, if they are intending to seek a superseding indictment with these notes, judge. Mr. Slavic, which is the DA. DA, just to be clear, the filter team can keep the notes. Judge, if they are not involved in a grand jury investigation or this case, pause right there. Be right back. Smooches. Serve the video, because it's the video of the raid. The DA, fine. The judge, what about the Jeffries Abercrombie case in ED, New York? The government released him on a $10 million bail. Be prepared to address the different. The DA said, it's very different, Your Honor. The judge said, see you Friday. Okay, y'all. To conclude this, so the Diddy attorneys had basically cited the CEO of Abercrombie. Y'all know I will butcher her name, but they let that man out of jail on racketeering charges, I think sex trafficking, basically the same charges Diddy has. They let him out on a $10 million bail. And they still got Diddy sitting up in jail with those same charges. So the judge basically wants the district attorney to tell him, argue, how is there a difference between that man's case and Diddy's case? Meaning, why is he out on bail and Diddy is sitting up in jail still? Okay, couple of things here. One, I told you guys, go back and watch my video when I announced this new judge in Diddy's case. I kind of figured that he was going to be favoring Diddy. Now, I figured that because I work with people that have the same culture of him. I know people is going to say the judge has to apply the law. Yes, he does. But as we all know, judges do go on their own mental opinions in cases. Sometimes you see judges favor the prosecution. Sometimes you see judges favor the defendant. In this case, this man culture favors men. And so we're talking about Diddy beating Cassie, and he's not charged with beating Cassie. He's charged with sex trafficking her, and he's charged with conspiracy and all this other stuff. But anyway, the main case is about Cassie. And yeah, it seemed like the judge to me from this is favoring Diddy's case. And yeah, Diddy might be coming home on bail because this district attorney has to explain what is the difference between that man case and Diddy's case. Meaning, why is y'all fighting so hard to keep Diddy in jail pre-trial versus keeping this man in jail and he ain't got out with only a $10 million bail? The judge want to know about that. Now, as far as the notes that they found in Diddy's cell, it's kind of interesting to me that a prosecution investigator was in on that raid. If it was just about the Bureau of Prisons, the police in there checking cells, why is the DA investigator there? That's telling right there. And also, the judge is saying that paperwork came from a legal pad. So Diddy's attorney want the video of that raid turned over. It's going to get interesting, y'all. What we're going to see Friday is the bail hearing. And I will be reporting what went on in that bail hearing. So just keep your ear to the streets because Diddy might be coming home on bail. Especially, the judge don't even want to hear about that paperwork for like 2 weeks. I think he put that hearing off that they found in his cell. So that's irrelevant to the bail hearing. So we're going to see how that goes. This is your girl Tree with another tip from Tree Tips Media. Smooches.